My name's Jyan Mackay and I play Davie Balfour, who is the protagonist of the play, and he is someone he's 19 years old, and he doesn't have much going for him in life. He is in a village where no one really likes him, and he discovers a letter from his father who basically says, you have an uncle and you've got this family secret, so get out there and go and see what it's all about. So he's in a bit of two minds. He's like, do I stay and get a trade and never leave this village, or do I go out there and try and discover what's going on? And he decides to do the second, and he gets himself involved in all sorts of craziness. So that's Davie.
That's Davie.
That's Davie.
That's Davie. We're going to do the whole thing.
Yeah.
My name's Malcolm Cumming, and I'm playing Alan Breck Stewart, one of the colourful characters that Davie meets on his journey across Scotland, having been to the old, and I hope this isn't a spoiler, kidnapped. He does. And he's a fearless Jacobite who travels across across Scotland during a time when it's not so great to be a Jacobite. So gets himself in a lot of trouble quite regularly, and very quickly makes a habit of getting Davie into and sometimes out of trouble.
Mostly out of.
People obviously know the book and everything, but what kind of attracted you guys to wanting to be part of the show?
I think initially for me it was the people that is in charge. To be honest, it's such a good creative team. That was the initial sort of reaction when I got the audition through, and Davie's just such a fun person to play, because you get to see his journey from start to finish. But yeah, what attracted me to it is initially was the people that surround the show. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was just all about that cold hard cash. That's theatre money, man. No, it was first time I ever met Isobel McArthur, the writer adapter, was working in a job here when I just graduated, and that was just after they'd done their first run of Pride and Prejudice, sort of, at the Tron in Glasgow, and so there was this sort of this exciting underground buzz about what was going to, there was potentially things going to happen with that, and to have seen that over the years, see that show grow in its trajectory, and to get the recognition and plaudits and awards even that it quite rightly deserves, was great to see. And then for Isobel to be bringing that style, the comedy and the heart that she poured so well into that Pride and Prejudice script, and that they developed so well there, bringing that to such a classic story like Kidnapped, so something that is equally loved across Scotland and beyond, was a very exciting prospect. And then, as you say, it's like as it went on, and seeing the members of the cast who had been developing this from years ago now, with the old group sabbatical that we all took. It's been a bit of a a bit of a ride, I think, in getting to this point, and it made it an incredibly appealing project to want to be a part of.
A lot of pressure, but appealing.
Yeah. Then obviously, what's the kind of process like for you guys? Because obviously it's a famous book, as we say. When you get the kind of roles, do you kind of then go back and reread the book, or do you kind of just let the script do the talking?
I think it's sort of, it depends with adaptations what the intention is, I suppose, and very much taking a novel, quite a long form, sort of means of storytelling into theatre, where instead of it being all about these long descriptions and paragraphs of internal monologues and stuff like that, you're trying to bring this into dialogue, keeping it sharp, bringing in the comedy, the sort of witty stuff. That can sort of change how you're wanting to play something anyway. And then with this, actually bringing the text forward into, going in and, mining that story for the sort of the themes that you'd see in it there, and the way that a writer could get that across, years and years and years ago, to now the sort of freedom of expression and being able to look at that story and really delve into it and go, well, how do we see this? And I think that's the great thing. Like, it was nice to prepare for the auditions and stuff, go back and look at this and think about, who that character was in a sort of archetypal manner, but getting the script and seeing where it was going and what Isobel and the creative team had taken from the story, and then recognizing the story they want to tell now. I think it's all about finding that balance of making the character true to that original source material, but also telling an authentic story that matters for now.
It was very well put. Well done.
Okay.
That was very well. That was good. Well,
there you go. So brilliant.
Why do you sound so surprised?
Then the relationship between your two characters has kind of been reframed for this production. How have you guys been approaching that?
I'm not too sure.
I think there's. Well, I guess it kind of ties into that, looking at this and thinking, on the one hand, it's like, oh, there's something different in there. It's not something that I had immediately grasped from the reading. It's not how I would have described it, but then looking at it and saying, well, yeah, that is what they're essentially two people who are traveling across the country, saving each other's lives, getting into trouble and in great peril, and constantly fighting and bickering and telling each other that they love each other, and this whole sort of
they discover that they need each other for different reasons. They both didn't expect each other to come into their lives, but they can't live without each other towards the end. I think that they definitely have an impact on each other when they first meet each other. So yeah.
And then I think it's just relationships like that when they're well written, as they were, as it is in the first instance, and in the text that we've got now, you're playing the text, and the rest of it becomes second. It's still second nature. It's there to be done. You don't really have to think about it much, and I don't think now I could see it in any other light, in any other way. It just feels
it works. It just works. Yeah.
And then, how much fun do you guys have then getting to create this kind of new version together? I suppose, like you say, of the journey.
Well, Ryan's not always in the room, so those days are pretty fun. There's some of the.
I'm sort of off doing
There's some real great,
the story
great
developing whilst they're
jesters.
playing about with instruments. No, it's everyone in this rehearsal room has a voice and something to give. So if something doesn't work, we just go, okay, like, get rid of that. Let's add in this. So there's been real freedom to get our versions as actors across, as well as the creative team, which has been something I haven't done professionally. This sort of level of freedom. So yeah, it's been really good to discover through that, I think.
I think it's something, that's that sort of sense of play is something that can only ever come from the top, and having Gareth and Isobel working together and, putting the text on its feet, EJ coming in to create movement sections with us, MJ working on the music, and Claire coming in to fight direct, like all of these different directors and people facilitating different parts of it. It could feel incredibly disjointed, or it can sometimes feel in the room a little bit like two people want two different things, and you have to either, mummy and daddy are fighting, and who are you going to choose to please, and then you have your own ideas that you're trying to bring into it. But there's such a great level of respect between all of those creative heads, so then that just creates a space where you feel like you can offer something. You can say, well, how about this, and you try anything that they give you, and then you try to add to that, and that's a real kind of that's a gift as an actor. And then having that sort of atmosphere just takes all of the stress out of it. So we can do lots of joking around, and
it's when the different departments go away and they do their thing, but when the moment when it all comes together, when we're doing sort of run of the scene or whatever, it's just like this is what everyone's been doing, because there's times where, like last week or whatever, I'll be out the room, then I come back and there's a new piece of music there, and it's like the underlying sort of track that's going on during the scene, and it just really helps with sort of enhancing the emotion or whatever. It's really cool, those moments where everything comes together. And you kind
of touched on it there, that the kind of music element of the show, kind of it's featuring some kind of 20th century pop kind of element. How has it been kind of finding that soundscape and then fitting it in with the story?
I'm just amazed every time I come in, because I play ukulele and that's it, and not very well. Getting to work with this group has just been something. Every day I'm like, oh, that's cool. Or getting Isaac to play music, just like, if I think of a tune, I'll just be like, right, play this, and it's happening. But
a roving synth to a PA.
So I don't really touch on the music thing, but it definitely just adds to the piece so much, doesn't it? It's like,
I think it's a really, there's a really savvy move in using these established tracks that people have a relationship to, because that's essentially what we're doing with the story. There's a lot of people who are going to come in knowing the novel and knowing the characters and having their emotional connection to them, and you have that same thing with songs. And when all of a sudden, if two people are looking at each other and all of a sudden you hear the people in the audience who are aware of that, that's just going to go in, and in the back of your head you're like, this is about to get interesting, and this is
it keeps it engaging, I think, as well. Like, this isn't a 5 hour long talking heads. It's fun, and there's when music like that comes out,
it zips along. It's all about the pace, and it's all about that energy, and it brings so much. I mean, a bunch of pirates dancing around a ship singing Erasure is just it's just a joy. It is a joy.
It's always going to be. It is good fun.
Then what would you say the production says to a 2023 audience?
Yeah, give us your money. Buy some tickets and give us your money, please. We need it.
What does it say?
I think it's all about. I think there's something to be said for interpretation and looking at old stories and seeing where. Well, there's diversity in the world that's always existed. These characters aren't new. These stories aren't new. It's just as we've gone through time, people have been allowed to express themselves to varying levels, and sometimes it's not very much, and sometimes it's a lot. And there's some people who've never been allowed to really be their true and authentic selves, but that doesn't mean they haven't existed for eons.
Yeah,
eons. And I think it's telling a story like this and looking at it in the way we are and saying, well, this is, and Isobel did a real deep dive into Stevenson himself and relationships that he had during the time of writing the story. And I think it's that context that makes up so much of a person's identity as well as what they feel they can express. And I think it's just if you actually just stop and examine things for a second, then you'll find that everyone is relatable. Everyone's on their journey and trying to get to. Davie's looking for this higher purpose, and I think it's human nature to kind of feel a little bit like there is that want, that desire in you to have a happy life and friends and a family and a sense of belonging. And
people, it's so easy to get caught up in a 9 to 5. You do the same thing every day and you get your holidays and that's you set. I think that the relationship between the audience and the character Davie is that he actively goes out of his way to not be like that and to go and see what else is out there in the world. And I think, I definitely know people who are caught in a loop and aren't really getting out there, and there's more to life. So I think, there's that aspect and relationship. Everyone else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My hair is just crazy town. I keep looking at myself in that corner.
So good. But then if you guys could go on an adventure in the world anywhere, like David did, where would you go?
It's New Zealand for me.
That's quite good.
Yeah, I'll go see Hobbiton. Yeah.
Well, we're filming it all here now, so just just do it here. I think there's certainly ties to those places like New Zealand and stuff. I'm very keen on going to Japan. The rest of my family all went on a big holiday to Japan, and it was when I was training. And they were like, "Oh, we could move it and go at this other time of the year, but there's not as much stuff on." I was like, "No, do it at the time that you want to go." And
what?
And now I'm like, I get more and more jealous of that holiday as time goes on. I'm
so
like,
annoying.
It looks so good.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good one.
That would be a good one.
Yeah, good answers. My final question for you today is: why should anyone who hasn't already book some tickets?
Well, if
we want to keep going with this show, so
I think it's this is with the last few years that we've had and things getting back to normal and getting to go out. This is one of those shows that is just joyous expression, and it's music, and it's funny, and it's touching, and it's a proper piece of ensemble theatre with so much going on, and it'll just fly by. And hey, if you're 16 to 25, then you can get the NTS of £5 tickets. it's not even that much. It's not even that much money.
I don't see. I
To
think
go out and have a really good bloody time.
this is one of the shows that if it's your first time going to the theatre, you're going to have a good time. Or if it's the
Hundreds,
then you're going to get something from it as well in terms of like the depth of the story and like whatever you're looking for. I think you'll get it out of the show because it is so bonkers that it covers everybody. I think.
And it is just it's just a great team. It's a great team of people who've done amazing work in their own right, coming together to create something. From even chumps like Ryan. He's been in some things. The actors are great. Olivier nominees and whatnot flying around, and
Malcolm
and me, and even me,
Malcolm.
even me,
Malcolm.
not awful.
The cool guy.
The cool. Thank you. Finally,
There you go. Tagline. Brilliant. That wraps up brilliantly. So Kidnapped is on at the Beacon Arts Centre in Greenock from the 28th of March. Then it tours to Glasgow, Edinburgh, Inverness, Perth, Newcastle and Brighton. And hopefully beyond. Hopefully
Hopefully beyond. So
Amazing.
get your ticket.